Hi, Martin is here for ChatGPT. We're here today. We're going to talk about financial health in a lot of detail, and we're just going to have a general chit chat around how good financial health looks like, what you do, how you do it, and just, yeah, that's what we're going to do.
Good.
So, introduce yourself, Martin, for everybody who's listening.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm Martin Potter, Managing Director of Potter Financial Partners. We are based in Tring, so West Hertfordshire. As a business, we've been running for just short of 4 years. I'm not originally from Tring. I'm originally from Lincolnshire, and slowly with my career, predominantly at Nationwide Building Society, I moved south. 19 years at Nationwide, so now live East Hertfordshire, but our clients are across most of the UK.
Nice, really nice. So, what got you into finance?
Um, well, I think growing up just outside Boston, Lincolnshire, my dad worked on the land, so tough job, physically tough job,
Yeah.
mentally tough job. Apart from the sun's out, it's really hot, and then it's snowing, and that's really cold. So I did a bit of work experience on the farm when I was 14, 15, 16, and realised that it paid well for a 14, 15, 16-year-old, but it was really hard work, and I'm not sure I wanted to do it forever. So it then came down to two choices: police officer or bank manager.
Wow, I
Um,
can see you as a copper, to be fair.
yeah, and I tried. I actually went into, I did my A levels at school. Anyway, long story. Went into the police station randomly and said I'd like to join the police force. And they said, come back in 3 or 4 years' time when you're older and a bit more worldly wise.
Mm.
So I then went down the next route and looked at banks and building societies and joined Nationwide Building Society in Boston a week before my 19th birthday.
Mm.
Scary. The training course was in London for a Lincolnshire lad travelling to London and getting out on a tube and black cabs and things was really scary. But I really grew my career from there, really. So very much boy on the till, cash in, cash out, helping customers, and then progressed my career with Nationwide over the first 12 years to mortgage advisor, branch manager, um, regional manager, area manager. Then left, but that was the start of the career.
Yeah.
I then joined NatWest, John Chalker, went back to Nationwide. Finally joined St James's Place as an employee, headed up acquisition, and part of my job for 7 or 8 years of that was helping people launch and then run a successful financial planning business. So
Nice.
about 4 years ago, I decided that rather than telling other people to do it, I should probably go and do it myself.
Yeah.
At the time, I was 45, and I realised that if you're going to run a business over 10, 15 years, there's only so many years after 45 that you want to be launching. So,
Mm.
with brilliant support from particularly my wife, Lucy, and the two teenage children at the time, then we went for it and launched the business in Tring and loved every minute.
Nice, nice. I like that the whole journey of how you've managed to you work your way through it really. And also with the starting of your business, 45, some people might be at that age and be contemplating starting a business.
Yeah.
And it's not easy, as we both know.
No, it really.
And it's so worthwhile. It's so worthwhile, and it's never too late. So it's never too late. So yeah, go on. Tell us healthy, what financial health, really healthy financial health looks like to you.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah. Well, I think what it means to me is probably different to what it means to you.
Yeah, of course.
People, and actually, just linking back to the impact financial planning had on me. Actually, I mentioned earlier I was in my first 6 months at Nationwide. I was now 19, and we had a financial advisor in the branch who helped obviously our customers. And as part of my development, I said, look, you should go and sit down with. His name was also Martin. You should go and sit down with Martin and have a chat. And at the time, I was earning a fairly low income, but I was still living at home with parents. I owned my own car. I was toying with the idea of getting a little car loan to get a slightly better car. Anyway, I went to sit down with this other Martin, and he said, look, you've got a bit of spare cash because you're living at home. My parents didn't charge me rent as long as I didn't have a car loan. So tip number one there.
There you go.
We've passed that on to our children as well. But he suggested that I pay in £20 a month into what was then a PEP, now known as an ISA. Showing my age now with
No, that's all good.
and I could afford 20, and then it went to tucked away rather than a car loan. Then it went to 50 because I got a bit of a pay rise. Over the next 3 or 4 years, I went from £20 a month to about £250 a month, and built a savings pot of £7,000 or £8,000. Now we're talking late 90s, Lincolnshire, not London.
Yeah, for sure.
But that built enough for me to buy my own first house when I was 22, because I'd built up those savings. And
Amazing.
I wouldn't say that was life changing, but it was definitely life enhancing.
Yeah, sure.
Thanks to property prices then going up, I then moved to Peterborough and so on. But that small bit of advice that probably wasn't, from a business side, worth a great deal to the other Martin, the financial advisor, made such a big impact in my life, because it then allowed me to do the things I could do,
Yeah,
and move house. So that for me is, and then you move forward to today, a different stage of life at a different age, and I'd probably link it to something a client said to me about 2 years ago. What sticks in my mind? They were married, similar to me, 2 children, similar age to ours, and they we had our annual review, where we sit down for, in this case, probably about an hour, and just looked at what's happened, what they spent, what holidays they got planned, dreams, aspirations, children, university, all those things. And at the end of the meeting, the lady said to me, she said, "Look, I'd like to thank you so much for your time, because what we do is we spend an hour and a half with you, Martin, once a year. We know we can call you if you need to, but that's what we know is definitely going to happen, because my team contact them. And then we know we can spend the next 364 days and a bit of the year enjoying life, without the worry of, are we doing the right thing? Are we saving enough? Is our pension okay? Do we need to renew our mortgage?
yeah,
What happens if? All those things we talk about once a year, and then they go off and enjoy it. And it's interesting, because one of the biggest challenges I have with certain clients that are probably a bit older, in their 60s and 70s, trying to get them to spend money is equally important, because they're from an era where it's like, well, I've never had a great deal of money. I'm now retired and I've got 100,000 in the bank. And sometimes you want to say to them, and I do say to them, go and have that holiday for £5,000 to cruise, or because next year you might not be healthy enough.
Yeah, and that's
like
so
that.
true. That's
There's
so
a balance. There's a balance. But so I think that's a really long answer. But whether you're 18, 19, like I was once, or you're 84, and everything in between, and different lifestyles, the biggest advice around your financial health is just make sure you sit down with someone who cares, who understands, who's qualified and an expert, and can challenge you as well. So that's key, because not everyone wants to have the challenge.
That's good. I like what you say. You know, if you've got somebody who's willing to sit with you and understands numbers. I think from I just take a little glimpse into my childhood. Like when I grew up, both of my parents had emigrated from Africa and India, so they understood finances, but in a different way, because they were always earning to survive.
Yeah,
that's basically it. I mean, I grew up in a council estate in Watford, so in Oxley. So, you know, it's worlds apart from where I am now. And you know, that has been a journey in itself, and because of how they perceived money and finance, my relationship with money wasn't that good. It was actually quite terrible up till about, I would say, up till about 5 years ago, because I did a lot of work on my relationship with money. Because obviously, people who understand financial health have a good relationship with money. It's like the old saying, isn't it? It's you know, money is the root of all evil. Well, it's misquoted, isn't it? The love of money is the root of all evil. So, and my mum always used to say, money is the root of all evil. So that stuck with me for many, many years. So, and when I got a mortgage when I was in my late 20s, early 30s, and I felt like that was like a noose around my neck. I felt really suffocated by it. And I went through a whole journey with that. But that's fine, because it happened. I learned, I got over it. And I think I didn't have that person to sit with, to sort of say, do you know what? Here's your income, here's your outcome. So from that little segue, shall we say, what's your advice to somebody who doesn't have that person, like you won't, who doesn't have that person to sit down with, if they've got to do it by themselves, watching YouTube videos or whatever they're doing, but what should they be looking at really?
I think there's probably two things, Ash, with that. I think one, I meet lots of people that have tried to do it themselves and still try because there's no right or wrong. Um, the world of Google, the world of various links and apps and Martin Lewis and all those things
Mm.
will help you get so far. The two things that then happen is one, Martin Lewis will recommend 10 things that you should do. But that's generic because he doesn't know whether it's me he's talking to, you or 83-year-old or 22-year-old. He'll just talk generically. And there's some of that's useful stuff, but none of that is then personalized. So do that, but get it sense checked with someone. I think the second, someone who's qualified, obviously. A mate down the pub is not always the answer. But, we all speak to people we know and trust, but find someone you know and trust to help. Because the second misconception, and generally one of the probably top three reasons why I launched my business, and this is two sides really. The industry has become very much focused on how much money have you got, Ash? If you've got £100,000 or more, I'll see you, and if you haven't, I won't see you. Well, that's a terrible answer. Over 4 years, we've built our business. We now look after 1,200 clients, just over 1,206 to be precise, as of today, by looking after 20-year-old version of Ash, who's invariably got generally a 50-year-old-ish parents, and generally speaking, 75, 80-year-old grandparents. And whichever one of those people we meet, we help. And generally, the older they are, the more wealthy they are, generally. But invariably, if you help everyone, you're doing a brilliant job. And that leads to kind of the final perception, really, is the amount of times I meet people saying, Martin, I'd love to spend some time seeing you, but I'm really not wealthy enough. I haven't got £1 million to invest. Actually, of the 1,206 clients, most of them haven't got £1 million to invest. But we help you protect what you've got, help grow what you're earning, and peace of mind in what you're doing is broadly right.
Nice.
But of course, life changes. So
Of course
that's when you reach out and we generally build our business based on regularly helping clients, not just let's help you today and then ignore you for 10 years. There's no interest in that at all. So that's a really long answer. I think two things: be careful what you look for on Google. The classic, and we're all guilty of it, aren't we? You get a sore knee, you Google it, and your leg's falling off. So you can be quite dramatic when you Google things. So just make sure you seek that advice. And thankfully, there's lots of really, really good young financial advisors coming through.
Nice.
Academies, St. James's Place run an academy, other financial institutions run an academy. So there's good 20, 30-year-olds coming through who will help the next generation. We're looking to grow our team with those people, and there's a couple of people who should join us this year.
Fantastic.
Because sometimes a 25-year-old doesn't want to deal with a 50-year-old advisor. Sometimes you want someone your same age. So,
100%.
So seek advice. Check what you're reading. Google will help. Various other websites will help. But
nice.
The big thing is just reach out and speak to someone. The challenge is we have initial consultation with any client. We embed all that cost in our business. So in other words, there's no hourly rate, there's no fee. More and more I'm seeing there's Ash, we'll sit down with you today and there's a £500 fee. And if you go ahead and do things with us, we won't charge you that. I don't feel totally comfortable with that, but it would appear, certainly in some areas of the marketplace, that's happening, which is a shame because whenever you're 18 or more, you should be sitting down talking to someone to prepare for what you're planning or using what you're now earning.
Exactly. And I think some of that information isn't readily available.
No.
And this is the whole point of sitting down and having this talk, really, is making sure that people are aware that it is available and people like you are ready to talk, because you do this over Zoom as well, right?
Yes.
You do this. It's not just coming to a house. It is literally doing it over a video call and working it out, really, for people. And I like the fact it's everybody with you, because you're a people person, right? And I've known you for a while now, so it's one of those things. I know you enjoy seeing people actually energizing their lives.
Yes.
And that's what money should be about, because in this capitalistic world we live in, that's what it's for. It's the whole point of a paper note, or it's plastic note now, right? It's a promise that I owe you something. That's all
Yes.
it is. Before we were bartering stuff, right? So if I had milk, you wanted more milk from me, and you would, I don't know, I'd buy a chair from you with how many gallons of milk, right? That's how it would work. So the whole made up financial situation that we're in, because it is made up. Someone actually invented it, didn't they? So
Yes. Yeah.
um, it can cause so much stress and anxiety for people, right?
It really can.
Especially when it's not going right, or some people are finding themselves in debt and whatever, however it works, credit cards, whatever, they're unable to make that minimum payment. What do you say to those guys? What do you say to those people?
Well, I think you alluded to earlier really about launching a business. It's never too late. Wherever you are today, put a line in the sand. And again, the amount of times we sit down with clients and they'll say, well, actually, I've got £4,000 on a credit card. Didn't plan on that. Christmas, particularly this time of year, spent a bit more. Um, we'll help you work it out. Um, one of the things I learned very early on is, having grown up really all my working life in financial world and terminology, and there's so much of it, and there's so many ISA and PEP and CTF, and there's so many different things that it's very easy to assume that anyone, if I was a self-employed electrician running a business with 15 electricians within my business, that doesn't mean to say I'd understand financial services. And by the way, for any electricians watching, I wouldn't understand anything to electric tile. I struggle to change a light bulb, but it's very easy to assume that everyone knows what I know, or what one of my advisors know, or someone who's worked at Nationwide for 30 years. They know far more. So my advice would be, go and sit with somebody or talk to somebody, and you could, when you break it all down, there's the best advice I often find myself giving to clients is what I deem as quite simple advice, and I don't mean that in a condescending way, but I think it's quite simple. But actually, I gauge the reaction, and actually sometimes it's saying, well, actually, if you've got £400 spare,
Yeah.
put 100 there, 100 there, 100 there, 100 there, and it feels like quite an easy answer. But the easy answer are often added up together over a number of years are life-changing answers, as I did when I was 19. And the second thing is, we live in a culture of social media and perceived perfection in life. For whenever you get a snapshot of someone's holiday and everything else. Having spent just over 30 years in this industry, you've alluded to it a couple of times, Ash, money and wealth doesn't guarantee happiness. Go live your life and enjoy yourself, but make sure, just in the back of your mind, you've got that moment where you go, just need £1,000 because the car's gone wrong.
Yeah.
And make sure you've got someone supporting you get there. We've got clients that have got £4 million invested with us, and we've got clients that have got £100 invested with us. That range of happiness doesn't go in a line where they're super happy.
No.
So work on what you want to achieve, and everyone's hopes, goals, aspirations. One of the reasons I enjoy what I do is, whoever you sit with, the answer to what you're looking to achieve in the next 5 years, what you're looking to do when you retire, there's not one answer to that, and there's not one right answer, and it's so interesting. And one of the reasons I love what I do is you get so many different answers and meet so many different people. It's it's great.
Yeah, it's great, absolutely. And like you just said, everyone's got their own stuff going on, right? We're all individuals, and then I think, like, when I speak to people, that they've got their own stuff going on, but then you add another human being to that factor.
Yeah.
So you could be in a partnership, you could be in a couple, you could be in a household with parents or kids or whatever. When you start adding those factors in, I think, from what I've seen, people get really clouded in their judgment.
Yes.
Yeah. And things just tend to pile up or get swept under the carpet, however it works. I think, before I delve into some more of that, something that you've touched on a few times now is saving, right?
Yes.
And you kept saying something when we were in meetings together of the basics of saving. So just give that a pat to people out there, because it's stuck with me. If you save X, you're gonna get. So
Yes.
you know what I'm talking about. Go for it.
I do, yeah. So I think, just to position that, whenever you look at investing and saving, And by the way, they're two different things. So I think saving is you save into short-term money. So I want to go on holiday next year. It's going to cost me £2,000. So I need to save roughly £200 a month over 10 months to build that money. But that's saving, and that's short term. So everyone should have a short term pot, which is car goes wrong, holiday, Christmas, that sort of stuff. The medium term is then when you are investing a certain amount, either a lump sum because I've inherited some money or I've got a bonus at work, or but the bit you're alluding to there, investing is everyone's got an ISA allowance of £20,000 per year. You don't have to use all of that, but if you broadly save, and you can Google this by the way, so Google this one. If you save £100 a month with a reputable company who's investing reasonably, in a reasonable level of risk, medium risk, upper medium risk, in that sort of bracket, £100 a month in 10 years' time is worth between roughly 15 to 25,000. So I always say 20,000. And our 18-year-old son 2 years ago, I used this figure with him saying, look, for every time you save £100 a month, you're 18 today. And in a way, I'm replicating what the advice I got roughly 30 years ago. £100 a month today, aged 18. If you do that for 10 years, broadly speaking, by the time you're 28, you'll have £20,000. Well, I don't know whether you're 18 or 48 or 38 or whatever age you are. Most people will listen to that and think, well, actually, I wouldn't mind 20,000 really for not missing too much. And of course, depending who you meet and depending what your earnings are and your outgoings, you can then think, actually, I can afford £300 a month. Well, that's then broadly 60,000 after 10 years. You have to caveat that with it could be less, could be more, usual.
Of course.
But that's the gist. And then your longer term investing is make sure if you've got a company pension, generally the best advice is pay into a company pension. If you could buy a house and slowly pay off your mortgage, with eventually clearing your mortgage, that's long term investing. So think about your financial planning as three pots. So your savings, which is I need a bit of an emergency fund and I need to put some money away to clear a credit card or whatever it may be. Medium term, which is 5 years plus. 5 to 10 years is generally where my mindset would go with that. And then what's your long term? Pensions, property, typically there.
Lovely.
Yeah, the long term.
Lovely.
So, but an old financial advisor of mine, I used to manage a team of financial advisors. His motto was always pay yourself first before you pay others.
Yeah. I was also read that in Rich Dad Poor Dad. That's in there as well. Pay yourself before you pay others. So elaborate your take on that.
Well, it's probably what I've alluded to, Ash, really, which is, if you earn £1,000 in a month, what many people do is say, well, actually, I'm going to now pay all my bills. And I know you have to pay all your bills, but start with, I earn £1,000 a month, and actually, I want to save that £100 a month of it. Well, then you would generally work out as human beings, you generally can manage that the other nine, and I'm making the number of £1,000.
Yeah, of course.
But the other 900 you've then got spare in that scenario, you generally make it work. You might not have full Sky Sports package, or you might not have the latest mobile phone, but all of us, because we're human, can make that work typically, usually. So the classic adage of pay yourself before you pay others is all about save that £100 first, and then with the rest manage.
Perfect.
And sometimes say no to a night out, and sometimes say no to the curry on a Friday night. Not always, because actually you should absolutely enjoy yourself as well. And the rule of thumb I tend to use is if you think we do budget planning with all our clients. So, Martin, I earn £3,000 a month. It looks like when I look at all my outgoings and my rent and my mortgage or whatever the figures are, it's £2,000 going out. The stock answer I then ask is, so Ash, have you got £1,000 a month spare? Knowing the answer. We know the answer isn't you haven't got £1,000 a month spare in that scenario because it's not normal. Typically, we halve that spare disposable income and then look to say, right, Ash, I think you could probably save the £500 a month.
Nice.
And test that. And typically, again, for most contracts now, we're not in an endowment world where you're fixed in for 25 years and you must pay a certain amount per month, otherwise it ceases. ISAs, 99.9% of the time are pay £500, Ash, for 3 months, 6 months, see how you get on. If you think you can afford 600, we'll up it. But actually, if it's 400, we'll decrease it. And no one should be getting themselves tied into any, you must pay X amount per month. But test it and stretch yourself.
Nice.
So if someone says 400, I go, let's do 500, see how you get on.
Yeah.
But individual.
And I think that's the good thing about ISAs as well. If you, depending on the type of ISA as well, if you put that 500 in, and then you go, actually, I need some of that back. You can actually do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, obviously, you don't want to touch it, to get that accumulative increment. the growth, shall we just
Yes.
say. But sometimes we get rainy days.
Yeah.
We get rainy days. So it's like sometimes you have to dip your hand in and you don't really want to.
It's not planned. But you're right. Normally within 5 to 10 days, you can get hold of the stocks and shares ISA money. But this is where, excuse me, the financial planning comes in, because it's the saving, which is, let's make sure there's a decent pot to mean you can get hold of that first. The investing is then the medium term. Let's try and leave it for 5 years, 7 years. No fixed term on it, really. Having said that, just to use your point, we had a client last week, originally invested his ISA with us for £20,000, so had a lump sum. Last week he rang me and said how much it's worth. It's been a really successful year generically in terms of investing. His 20,000 had grown to 22,000. It's actually, Martin, I'm going to have that £2,000 out because I want a new dishwasher, boiler. Really boring answers, but he said, I just need it.
House stuff.
And that's where I'd like to get it from, because I know I've made a profit. What's the penalty to get the money out? No penalty. Apart from you don't get the interest, obviously, on the 2,000 anymore going forward, but that's obvious. What's left in, how soon can I have it? 5 working days. What's left in there? 20,000 will still be invested and will still grow. No penalty whatsoever. That's not for everyone in terms of penalties, but with us, that there isn't. And most providers generally don't serve a penalty now on that. There's normally initial fees to go in, which is why we say 5 years, 7 years, 10 years to invest, because that initial fee then is diluted the longer you leave the money invested. But again, that's where you check before you go ahead with any provider, including us, what you're paying up front and make sure it's well planned.
Which makes sense.
Yeah,
which makes sense.
Right.
So it's whatever you put in, you know what you're going to get out of it.
Yes.
At the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which in a world which isn't full of guarantees, it's quite nice.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely right.
So, in we're talking about financial health here, and how it affects us, and GBP, grounded balanced performance, is focused towards men's health.
Yes.
So, pointing out the obvious, you're a man.
Thank you.
And you're financially involved.
Yeah.
How has it ever negatively impacted you, and how have you overcome it?
I mean, we're all human, aren't we? So I think men typically, if I start just generically first, I think men typically are the breadwinner in a home. I know it's a more modern world now, but that's historical. They're typically the ones, I'd probably include myself in this, who take on the pride of earning a living to pay for children and helping them grow, but also the worry of making sure it happens. So I've definitely been guilty of that, and this is running a business. Before running a business, I take great pride in working really hard to support my family and the choices that then gives us for the holidays, the golf, the netball, the 18th, which is coming up for our daughter, and the 21st that's coming up for our son. Tough year this year, 2026, and maybe a 50th, by the way, but we'll ignore that. But I think as men, typically we bottle up worries, and we've all those friends that we go along and have a beer with, or game of darts, or we go to the football, and it's all very much male bravado. But they're not generally the right conditions to be able to say, actually, I know we're having a great time going to the football to watch my team. I've got season tickets. Do you mind if I just talk to you about my money worries? You're not going to be that most popular guy, are you? So I think for me, and I'm fortunate because I've got 2 or 3 really good friends like this, that you need those friends where you can just have that. Do you mind if we go for a drink? But I'd really like to talk to you about 2 or 3 things. And they might not be financial experts. They might not be psychologists. But they're friends who are true to you. Just make sure you find that person, I think, really, or people, because very often a problem shared is a problem halved, isn't it?
Yeah.
And saying things out loud rather than just trying to bottle them up and try and work them out in your own head, keeping yourself awake at 3 o'clock in the morning. And by the way, I still do that. There's still moments. Just for general life, it's busy, isn't it? So my advice is, and I include myself in this, is just make sure you speak to those people that are trusted. Not to talk about, I've got a £1,000 credit card I can't clear, but just talk through where you're at, what you're doing, and we've probably all between us got the answers. Stick 10 men around a table who are in a similar age, similar financial position, there's probably 10 good practices there that they could all share, and everyone walks away with 9 new ones.
100%, 100%. Couldn't agree with you more, because like one person has some knowledge, a group of people has way more knowledge and beyond. And like you say, you know, in a group of 10, you're going to come away with 9 new ideas for sure. Trust is the pinnacle of finance health, I think, financial health. We Brits aren't very good at talking about money, are we? No. Let's face it. No. It's that stiff upper lip. It comes out in droves, especially when someone goes, well, how much do you earn then? Well, you could cut the tension with a knife, couldn't you? So we're not really good. I think the generation coming up, I feel they're going to have a better gauge on things, thankfully. Our generation will still have that stigma. Yes. So I think when you have someone like yourself entering the picture, as it were, people are going to do a lot of research as to who you are, what you're doing, how you do it, how you go about it, your history. I mean, you're an open book, which is lovely. And not everyone's like you are. No. And, you know, I would say if you are a financial advisor, be more open, because I think people are going to trust you more for sure. And for men struggling with their financial health, help is out there. And like you said, Martin Lewis is a really good stepping stone to find someone who's actually gonna tailor something to you. Would that be accurate?
Yeah, that's a great start point. I think Martin Lewis is at the forefront of making sure more and more people are aware of what you can do, what you should look for, and been a brilliant education piece. I think it's then for people to take that and refine it. So there's the advice for you now. There's the 10 things that are best practices. Well, actually, 3 of them don't apply to you because you're not 70 yet, or whatever, you know, the scenarios. So it's making sure you just get that. And again, perception is often you meet a financial advisor right now, this minute, and you have to make a decision on what you do in 10 minutes' time. 100% of the time, we have our first meeting, which is very much about getting to know the individual, the couple, the family in some occasions, because I had a meeting last week with mum and dad and then their 2 children. So mum and dad are in their 70s and 2 children in their 40s, daughters. And they just wanted to get a picture of where are they financially. And very often it's not as bad as you probably think. But spending that hour and a half just to be able to say, look, can we spend some time? Builds trust. You can work out whether you like the person, because if you're seeing me once a year, it's quite handy if you quite enjoy the meeting, and vice versa, to be fair. So can you like them? Can you get on well? Do you enjoy it? Do you trust them? Are you really clear on? Well, I would say 2 things really. Are you clear on what you're paying if you do anything, which is important. But I think the equally important part there as well is, what are you paying for? So are you really clear that if you're going to invest some money, or you're going to take some life cover, or you're going to save regularly, or you're going to take on a mortgage, whatever it may be, if you're paying £1,000 for something, what am I getting from £1,000? Am I getting access to some of the best fund managers on the planet? Am I putting that money in for 10 years and getting a rubbish return? Be clear. Be clear on what you're getting. And the second bit around that is being clear on, most people will charge an ongoing advice fee. Now, once a year, I'm going to charge you something, Ash, for what you're going to give me for my 0.5%, 0.75% of my investment. Well, we're going to sit down here once a year. We're going to give you access to a portal. There'll be different answers for everyone. But building that trust over time, you know, I'm fortunate because I've had some clients that I've known for 25, 30 years in the industry, help them in different ways, depending on what job I've done. Well, that's obviously a very different conversation than if I met someone today for the first time. It takes time. But one of the reasons I love what I do is very early on, I try and gain that trust and understanding that as a client, I'm going to ask you some challenging questions, some really exciting questions, some dream questions of future hopes and aspirations. And in a way, actually, one of the things that being a financial advisor gives you is the ability to say, Ash, I'm asking these questions I need to know, which is genuine. How much do you earn?
Hmm.
And actually, it's amazing as a financial advisor, you say to someone, how much do you earn? And they say £40,000 a year. It's like just normal.
Yeah.
The amount of things that people share with you as a financial advisor is really interesting.
And that's the thing, isn't it? It's like people wouldn't talk about that normally.
No,
That isn't a normal
no.
conversation. Like you say, if you're out with the lads, as it were, you're out having banter, you're drinking, you're whatever, but you're not talking about finances. And it could be the one thing that's, absolutely drilling into your mind every 2 minutes.
Yes.
But if you find someone that you can know, like, and trust, because that's what it's about, you can actually have those open conversations. And actually, if you are in financial trouble, then you can have the conversation and then have a plan.
Yeah.
I think one thing I did when I was younger, which I really I just did it off my own back. I came out of university with a load of debt,
Yes.
and I didn't know what to do, so I just went to my bank and I said, "Look, this is where I'm at. What do I do?" And the lovely lady, she sat me down and she said, "Look, you can get X, Y, and Z loan to pay off X, Y, and Z, and you'll be in a better position in 12 months' time." And just that little chat that I had with somebody. So it's, people are out there to help you. They are willing to help, and they get paid to help you. It's their job. So without people like you and people in your industry, um, you know, people would be a bit lost.
Yeah.
And there's no need to be lost. I think that's the bit I'm trying to get at.
Yeah, and I think there's more demand than ever before for people to get that help. Growing population, banks and building societies, but predominantly banks, I suppose, get labelled for this, closing branches. So that branch that you might have gone into might not be there anymore, depending on what town you're in and so on. And credit to Nationwide, it's the advert, isn't it? But they're keeping their branches open far more than the banks, because that stuff, to be able to go into your local bank that I've had an account for since I was born, because mum and dad opened it. Generally, that's a good place to start from a trust perspective, isn't it? And it's then how you go on.
For sure. And you can always ask your friends and your family if they know someone. I think that's always a good place to start as well.
Spot on. Yeah.
Because you can always Google stuff. But I think if you ask your friends and family, do they know someone? If they trust them, you've got a chance of knowing that you could trust them. It may not work out. It may work out really well.
Yeah, it usually does, though. I think that as we've grown over the last 4 years, one of the biggest reasons we've grown as a business is through referrals from one client to the next. And actually, for that client who's been recommended by their friend, it's easier, because they're saying, well, actually, I've already heard Martin's quite a nice guy and he helped my best friend, or whatever it may be. But actually, it works both ways. So for us to have that meeting with someone who's now not questioning everything we do, the trust is already halfway there. It means we can help quicker. So I'm not saying that has to happen, but certainly a recommendation, a referral from someone you know and trust. Speak to those people in you.
Goes a long way. Yeah, it does go a long way. Awesome. Okay, I'm gonna wrap up in a bit. And what I wanted to talk to you about was a little about your health. As a man, like I said, Grounded Balanced Performance is focused on men's health, right? You do look after yourself. I know you do. And the 4 pillars that Grounded Balanced Performance is focusing on: physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. So allude to your journey or what you're doing right now, whatever works for you, to be honest.
Thank you for suggesting I do look after myself. I do my best.
You do. I know you do.
I generally train 5 times a week at a reasonable rate. I train like an Olympian because I love my food and a drink, and I enjoy those things in life as well. And I end up staying the same. So
you should.
I don't gain weight generally, and I don't have a bad time of year to ask me, actually, because we had a great Christmas. But I think, and Ash, what I'd say is, for me personally, like we all should be, we're learning all the time. So one of the things I did a lot last year is work a lot of hours, work a lot of evenings. I'm generally up early in the morning. That can go on so long before we get to a point where it's like, this isn't fun anymore. I'm helping lots of people, but selfishly, I'm not spending a lot of time with the family. When I'm pretty tired, and it's like 14-hour days. How many times do I do this? So one of the things I've tried this year, And it's working so far, is accepting that on a Monday morning I was getting to the office early. I'm normally in for 6. We're about an hour and 45-minute journey to the office, so work that one out about how early I get up on a Monday, which is fine. But on a Monday night, I generally don't do evenings now, so I'm normally home for 5:30, 6, and I train for half an hour. And ironically, despite being up early, I feel re-energized, feel better. And training, we've got a Peloton bike just in the garage from lockdown, because a lot of people do that in lockdown. And I do 15 minutes on the bike, 15 minutes of weights and press-ups and sit-ups and whatever else it may be. Quick shower, and we're having dinner by 6:30, 7 o'clock, and I feel great. So so for me, from a health perspective, it's trying to, as the metabolism slows down a little bit, is trying to enjoy life, because actually enjoying life for me is a lovely steak, a lovely glass of red wine, an occasional real ale. Is realising that I can't do that quite as much as I perhaps did 10 years ago without putting on about 4 stone. And actually for me, it's important to be reasonably presentable, to be in reasonable health, to still be able to go and play tennis on holiday with our soon-to-be 18-year-old or 20-year-old, be able to walk, cycle. I want to do all those things because I really enjoy it. My parents have probably guided me there. They're both 76 now, and they will walk 5 miles most days.
Amazing.
They'll cycle 5 to 10 miles if they don't walk.
Amazing.
And thankfully, they're still in really good health and mentally retired, but still enjoying life because they're physically fit and can go and enjoy things. So you look at that and try and replicate it in some way. Albeit being 6'5", not that you can tell that from the camera, being 6'5" and naturally quite broad, it just gets harder sometimes to carry on being physically fit. But we do our best.
Yeah.
But it links to all the other bits really, Ash. For me, it's if I'm training and I'm keeping myself active, I'm better when I'm then with clients because I feel better.
Yeah. I
look better. Emotionally, that makes me feel more proud of how I look. And you just carry yourself a little bit better.
Yeah.
So it's but equally, I'm not sure that's always the answer, because I found myself in the last couple of weeks, we've done some employee surgeries where you go into a business with 15, 20, 30 staff or more, and seeing 12 or 14 people in a day for quick half-hour surgeries, which has been brilliant. We talk about key areas of financial planning, get a snapshot, and then work out from there. It's made us really busy. So I found myself over the last few days and said, well, actually, I'll fit you in Friday at 5:30 in the evening, because I know that's the time you can do. And yeah, I can fit you in Monday night at 7 o'clock, because don't worry, I'll fit you in. And just occasionally have to stop and say, yes, I'm running my own business. And people talk about that in a positive way. And it is, because you've got freedom and flexibility and your own boss, so you can say, actually, I'm leaving at 4 and no one can stop me. The reality is completely opposite sometimes, in the fact you end up saying yes more because you care a lot about your business. And in our business, it's not about anything other than the more people you help, the better your business is.
Yeah.
And the more recommendations or referrals. But you just have to try and find that balance.
For sure.
And that's easy to say, not so easy to do. But for the last 15, 20 years, I've not tended to work at weekends. So that's my rule and my agreement with the wife. And I think that's probably the final thing I'd say on it, really. With the people closest to you, however you're going to work and however you're going to work through your health and so on, communication is a really difficult thing, but it's key. So are you happy that if I work, this is for my wife and I, are you happy that if I work Monday to Thursday and do lots of hours, on a Friday generally, I'll get home around 5, 6 o'clock, and then we've got the whole weekend, and we're going to do the things we want to do at weekends, and generally have a bit more money to do it because we work really hard. That sounds really simple. It's not always that easy, but my daughter and I were at the I shouldn't share this too much on camera, but we're season ticket holders at Manchester United. I don't share that very often, as you know, Ash. I would have done about 30 years ago, not anymore. But we
can share it after this weekend. It's all right.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm sharing. But we went up to we had a day together, kick off at 12:30. We drove up to Manchester, had a bite to eat, watched the football, came home, had a really lovely day. Totally dedicated to spending time, just father and daughter in this case. And it was, magical, unbelievable day. And you feel like you've been the right, because Monday to Friday you've worked hard and helped some people, and but just because that's right for me, anybody else, that's not always the right answer. Some people are morning people, some are evening. my only advice where you can is try and work out what suits you
Mm.
and your other half and your children and whatever your scenario is. Because it can always be a little bit better, but just keep working on it really.
Yeah.
And I'll be the first to admit that I'm not perfect, but I'll keep trying to make things a little bit better.
Awesome. Brilliant. Well, thank you for sharing that. And it's amazing that you're finding a way to keep your cup full.
Yes.
Because,
yeah,
like I said before, you're a people person. You're also an empath as well. You're very empathetic towards people. So you to do that, see that many people and not take on their problems will be difficult.
yeah, it is.
I know.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things of how you're doing and how you're giving yourself that break and building in that break because you need it. And you've recognized that throughout time. And if you haven't recognized it, your other half has definitely recognized it, right?
Yeah.
So you're getting feedback. So that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Great stuff. All right. I think we can end there. That would be great. So no, thank you for your time.
No,
thank you for sharing.
It's been an absolute pleasure.
And yeah, we could do another part 2 at some point, I'm sure.
More than happy. Let's see what the demand is. You might get 3 views and no one's interested. Genuinely, we'd love to.
Absolutely.
If anyone wants to hear any more, we can.
That's great. All right. Excellent.
Thank you, Ash.
Brilliant. Thank you very much.